Everybody is saying that if DWP asks you for your bank statements and you're on some type of a benefit, then you should be happy to hand them over. And lots of you think that they can see absolutely everything within your bank anyway. But what about PIP claimants? Because lots of people on PIP work full time, have businesses, have companies, they don't claim universal credit, they don't claim any type of benefit at all. Now, they are actually still under massive scrutiny by DWP by looking at their bank statements. And in this video, I'm going to be telling you exactly what your bank statements say about you that you're probably not even thinking of when you hand over your bank statements. And I'm going to be answering the question, do I have to give them my bank statements? So first of all, DWP do not have direct access to your banking transactions from their offices. They will know exactly if you've got bank accounts, how many bank accounts you've got, the names your bank accounts may be in, but they can't actually look at every single transaction. That's why they're asking you for your transactional data. And I can see there is a divide between, do you think this is lawful that they can ask for these bank statements, and do you think not? And I get it, it's because of this bad boy, the FEAR Act, or the Fraud, Error and Recovery Act. And if you don't know quite what this is yet, this gives DWP, hospitals, councils, lots of local authority, and I will say national authority, more jurisdiction to do certain things. This act even gives DWP the right to come into your house and perform searches. Now, I'm not going to go into that today. I've covered it in other videos, and it is all in the FEAR Bill playlist, which you can find just here. So getting back to the bank statements. Now, there are three main acts plus the FEAR Act that are relevant to this. That is the Universal Credit Act, it's the Welfare Reform Act, and it is the Social Security Act. Now, I have gone through all of these acts before I created the data toolkit with all of the templates and the letters and all of those things in when you're requested to do this. And not one of them actually says you have to hand over transactional data. And if we look at one of the most recent of those acts, which is the Social Security Act, it does say, specifically under Schedule 3B for the naysayers in the comments, that transactional information and special category data should not be requested or given, and it's expressly prohibited when EVNs are requested. So that's eligibility verification notices, when there's a mismatch between your information or declarations compared to what the systems or the AI systems within these departments are flagging up. Now, you've got this in black and white, but how you actually communicate that so that you, one, stay compliant, and two, protect your rights is exactly why I created the data toolkit. But what I want to go into in this video is when you hand over your bank statements, what they're looking for, because I keep hearing this term and I keep seeing it in the comments time and time again. And that is claim reviews to check your entitlement. Now, if you scoot back to my legal section in here on this YouTube channel, where I've been covering or looking at decisions that have been made by judges in upper tribunals and lower tribunals, you will see that one of the recent cases in February 2026, the upper tribunal actually overruled DWP and said you cannot close somebody's claim because they haven't given you evidence for entitlement, because that's once a claim's been opened, because entitlement starts from the day that it's opened. that's when the entitlement starts. So all of this stuff that I am hearing, and I know that it is happening to you guys, you need to be maybe watching those videos and referring to those case laws when you go back to DWP, or even make a complaint. Now, as well as checking for your capital, your income, and perhaps any inter-account transfers or large amounts of money being transferred into your account or out of your account, which does not conform with what you declared, or is perhaps over the £16,000 of savings, which you're not allowed over £16,000 on universal credit. They are looking for other things as well, and these are the crucial things that need to be paid attention to. So the first thing they're looking for in your bank statements is your lifestyle habits. Now, I used to be, years and years ago, a bookkeeper. I used to be a finance manager. And one of the jobs that I used to do was go into failing businesses, find out why they're failing, create projects, implementation plans, we call them, implement them, and help that business to become profitable. It's one of the jobs I used to do. The number one place I would sit for weeks on end would be the accounts department. From the accounts department, you can see everything that is going on. You can even see when people are trying to fiddle. People think they try to hide it. With a very trained forensic eye like I have on these things, it's as clear as day. Now, when you're giving your bank statements over to DWP, they are scanning your bank statements to see if your declarations, particularly for PIP, coincide with your spending habits, which are then going to identify certain things that you're doing or not doing in your everyday life. An example: I have social anxiety. I can't go out. I never go out. I have to order in my food. I have to have everything ordered in. I'm too anxious to come to the job centre. I could never get a job because I'm too anxious. I am not, I'm just making up an example, okay? But then on your bank statements, if it says, coffees at the local coffee house or Starbucks, or you've gone away for a weekend, or you've been out shopping every single morning at your local shopping centre, or maybe you got a horse and you go horse riding every single day, it's not going to align with what you've declared. Now, I'm not saying doing any of those things are wrong, right? But if what you've declared is completely the opposite of what you're actually living, that is one of the things they're going to look for. And then from there, we can go down the slippery slope to fraud referrals and all the rest of it. The next thing they're looking for are spending patterns, how you spend your money. Now, there is a whole mythology around this, particularly in marketing. So for example, when I'm running ads for my business and things like that on social media, one of the things that you can tick is what type of spending habit do you want to target? Do you want to target someone that buys only on their credit card, or shops only online, or shops directly in person, or shops just from social media? All of these different things are very intrinsic. So that means they help certain people who are analysing everything you do mark and develop a pattern. Now, where the danger of this comes is that sometimes people can have completely innocent lifestyles, leading a life that is not contrary really to what they've declared, and their spending patterns aren't really, they're not indicating anything untoward or fraudulent. They're just kind of a bit of an odd situation, but that might suit that person, for example, very well. But if it falls into the hands of somebody who has maybe got a bit of an axe to grind or doesn't have a very balanced outlook, then it can really go down the wrong routes. And that's when those types of beliefs then turn into assumptions that are not backed up with factual data, You could say, well, they've got the bank statements, but then, like I've said to you before, when we're looking at evidence and things like that, you can have the same evidence bundle, give it to two different barristers, one for the claimant, one for the defendant, and they're both going to be able to twist that round to suit their client, to suit the narrative that they want to support. That is why I'm a stickler for you guys keeping hold of your own evidence. Now, whether or not you want to argue back against DWP and risk your claim being suspended or maybe even closed is up to you. If it were me, I would argue back, because it would come down to data protection, privacy, and this type of lifestyle monitoring, which I think is quite dangerous. And this is precisely why they're asking you to hand over the bank statements, because they're not allowed to ask the bank for this information. They're not allowed to. As we've seen, category A data is not allowed, and transactional data as well. And if you don't know what category A data is anything to do with anything that's medical, any kind of sexual preference, anything that comes under a protected characteristic. So that might be anything to do with religion, religious contributions, buying things for your religious pursuits, the same for sexual encounters, etc., etc., and the list goes on. Now, the next part that is relevant to people on PIP, specifically with bank statements, is how they're spending their money. Now, PIP is meant to be given to people who have health conditions or disabilities to help with their extra expenses. Now, I know, again, we're going to have two schools of thought here, where some people are going to be going, yes, if you're getting an extra £800, whatever, £800 a month, then it should contribute towards things that you need specifically for your health conditions and your disability. And then I'm going to get other people saying, well, no, I can't go out, or I can't do this, or because of my disability, or why shouldn't I be able to treat myself and buy myself a nice takeaway or something every single week because I'm excluded from so many other things because of my disability. So I totally get it, and I kind of agree with everybody on that, because everybody's situation is different, everybody's perspective is unique on that as well, I think. But if your transactional data from your bank statements that they're looking at is, again, giving them the idea that you don't really need that money because you're not spending it on anything in their eyes which is very relevant, then should you be getting it anyway? And then this is where that seed gets sown, I think, by some of these people that are looking at these claims, and that where they then start looking at other things in your life that your transactional data is telling them. And this is why I think the whole process of going through people's bank statements, asking all of these questions, is very dangerous, because the people that are doing this, they're not like, they're calling them like claim review people. They're not. They're just people that work at the job centre. They don't have degrees in forensic, statistics or anything like that. They've got no idea really of that type of analytical data mapping, which is what it is, on a much higher level. And that's why it should, if you're going to do this sort of thing, it should really only be assigned to people like that, to make sure they are also trained in not having prejudicial views, because it can be very damaging in your decision making. Okay, so the next one is this one: live-in arrangements and possible partner issues. So did you know, you may or you may not know, that if you're claiming any type of a benefit, you shouldn't be having anyone stay over your house more than 3 days a week. 3 consecutive nights a week. And quite often people think, I know, let's both get a council flat next to each other, get double payments for everything, but just both stay together in one place. I've seen this done, by the way. I've absolutely seen this done. I wouldn't recommend anybody do that, but they're going to be looking for this type of thing as well. Now, I have seen someone in the comments, I don't want to pull the comment up, but I have seen someone in the comments say, my boyfriend contributes towards my upkeep, buys my food, gives me money for clothing, to go to the hairdressers, have my nails done every single week, goes into my bank account. Is that a problem? Short answer to that is yes, because they're going to see that as income. They're going to see that as undeclared income, and that could affect your entitlement. So whether or not you're going to carry on doing that, or whether or not you're going to carry on doing that going through your account, or maybe something you want to have a look at, because yes, it is definitely an income in the eyes of DWP. Now, the next one is for everybody, but particularly people with health conditions and people on disabilities, right? Work pattern or business activity. So many people get this wrong. And by the way, I know of quite a few growing YouTubers here on YouTube that make out that they don't have a business. All the while they've got a merch shop up, they're like got their PayPal, send me money through PayPal, all of this sort of stuff. Trust me now, if you're that person and you are being watched by DWP or you're claiming benefits, the fact that you're selling merch, the fact that you are consistently recording videos and uploading them, and you're maybe getting monetized through the YouTube creator program or something else, constitutes, in DWP's eyes, business activity. Now, it's very different to HMRC. There is one set of rules for HMRC. There are one set of rules for people who are on benefits. Sometimes those rules are the exception. They slightly blend. But do not make the mistake of thinking, I am disabled or I have a health condition. I can be a content creator, get all of these samples for free, record loads of videos, sell loads of merch, and as long as I'm not making £1,000 in a year, a calendar year, I'm golden with DWP. That's not true. So I do have a free 5-day challenge that I'm doing all about self-employment for people who are on a low income or who want to grow what they're doing, or maybe want to stop claiming benefits and think about how they can do that. That's happening next month. So sign up for that if you're interested. It's completely free. Anyone is welcome. Okay. But business activity is something that they look at, so don't make that mistake. And also sending virtual gifts as well, that is income because you can cash it out into money. That is classed as income. People send, when you put up your PayPal thing, I've seen that on YouTube by somebody here recently, they're saying, oh, this isn't a business, guys, you're just helping me, da, da, da. If DWP get wind of that and they find out what your real name is, which is going to be quite easy to do because you got your face on the camera and there's ID everywhere, they're going to know who you are. So if that is you, I would go down to the job centre. I would say that you are actually self-employed, you're unsure of the rules, and can they help you out? Because if you don't and you get caught, you'll be done for fraud. You'll be done for non-declaration of a business activity, and then they're going to start looking at your bank accounts, your PayPal accounts, and everything else. And in all honesty, right, if you do things in the way that I'm going to be showing you all on my 5-day challenge, you can be completely compliant, still get your benefits, still get LCWRA even, ESA, PIP, Universal Credit, and start building income. Start building skills and an income so you can perhaps eventually not even need the benefits. But don't try doing it on the sly because they're going to catch you guys. It's always a matter of time, and nobody really wants to go get a criminal record for doing something with Universal Credit, do they? I mean, at the end of the day, why would you want to do that? So alongside the business activity is the work pattern. So again, the bank statements are going to be showing when you're going out, when you're buying, when you're doing your shopping. And the more things that become digitalized, okay, it kind of puts you at the scene all of the time. It puts you at the scene of a crime, if you want to look at it like that. Through your bank statements, you can work out exactly what someone's doing really every single hour of the day. Now, if you're saying you can only work a few hours a week, for example, because you have childcare problems, or the other partner is working and they can't look after the child, but meanwhile your bank statements are saying something completely different, again, could be going down a slippery slope. Now, whilst agencies like DWP want to look at something like a bank statement and make all sorts of assumptions over it, I am a firm believer that a bank statement alone does not prove functional ability by itself. And also, we can make a lot of assumptions about what a bank statement says without having all the other elements of the context or the environment that person's in and the context of that situation. We can't just extract that data as it is and then kind of make our own ideas up what we think about it. And that's another reason why I think it's crucially very dangerous and very damaging, apart from the fact that everyone is scared to death over these bank statements. But before I leave you with my video today, I want you all to know this, particularly some of you who are very, very anxious in the comments, okay? And I get it, but, and this is the truth, DWP always act on, read off guidance. Guidance is not law. Law oversees, it takes over DWP's guidance. Not all of the time, but a vast majority of the time. And even when DWP go to court, quite often they don't really apply the law correctly. That's why there are so many judges and tribunals and courts overturning their decisions all the time. But know this, right? Under the new eligibility verification notice system, which is part of the FEAR Act, okay, this is an act of law, this is real. Financial institutions, banks in particular, are prohibited, not allowed. They're not allowed to send DWP financial statements or transactional information. They are not allowed. So you do have rights, you do have the right to your privacy, you do have the right to ask questions, and you do have the right to send in a letter and object to what they're asking you. Okay, they may suspend your money and they may even cut it off. Of course, I've seen these comments, but then you need to take it to the next level. That's when you need to seek legal advice, and you need to do what some of these very brave claimants have done and take them to court. Because the more people that do this, the less they're going to, just keep using or weaponizing people's financial vulnerability against them, which I think seems to be very much what is going on. Now, I don't want people to think that I'm not saying, oh, you've got to defraud the system or anything like that. I'm not saying that. I would definitely not saying that at all. However, there needs to be a balance. If someone has done something clearly or is acting in a way that clearly does not replicate or align with what they have stated on paper, or a statement of truth to Universal Credit or PIP or any of these other organizations, I get it, okay? Then, of course, maybe that needs looking into. But to cast this aspersion across every single person, whether or not they're claiming PIP or Universal Credit or ESA or any benefit at all, with this big black mark that they're all guilty and they're all acting in dishonestly and you're not declaring things when they should be, is wrong. Because if we start living in that type of a system, then the decision making process is it's being done without clear adjudication, and that is that is not a democratic society. Then it's very, very, very dangerous, and I really don't want people living in that sort of an environment. Anyway, guys, I hope this has been a useful video for you. Let me know if it has been. Please don't worry. Support each other in the comments as well. And for some of you whose comments, I read everyone's comments. All I'm going to say if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. Lots of the people that follow this channel are vulnerable people. Lots of them are on medication. Lots of them are worried about lots of things. And for the Karens that tell me to speak quickly, I will speak how I speak. And again, it supports a lot of my vulnerable audience here. We don't all have to talk, you know, like we're on speed on TikTok. We are not. This is how I talk. Like it or lump it, I really don't care. But I'm not going to speed up or slow down for anyone. This is me and my true good self. So have a lovely day, and I'll see you in the next video.